More life, more love, more righteousness. This is Makara. I have an important topic to discuss with everyone today. This is a video that I recently done, probably about a month ago. And I had to redo it because the quality of the video was so poor and that it kind of interfered with the message that I was attempting to send out. This video is in relation to mental conditioning. Mental conditioning is a subject that needs some serious attention in this time, and mainly because this is an issue that has been and still is plaguing our communities throughout the diaspora. It's affecting all ages, from the very young to the very old. And the funny thing is that it begins at birth. After watching a few videos on YouTube, I decided to make one of my own in relation to the topics that were at hand, just in an attempt to appeal to our extended family members. One of the videos that I was watching, namely Cracking the Code of Commerce by Jordan Maxwell, I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this. It's a very interesting video that sheds light on how commerce is actually used to socially control people throughout the world. And when I say people, this means all people. Black, white, Oriental, Hispanic, Indian, you name it. It's all people. As important as this topic is, ironically, no one wants to really discuss it, and I'm not really sure why. Because when it comes to me, I have a need to know, especially if it is about my future and that of my children, possibly being affected by anything that's negative. And it's funny because I've encountered so many sisters who lack interest in these topics. We seemingly leave these topics for the men to handle. Yet, these problems are not the man's problems. It's a social problem, which includes all sexes and all races. And it's definitely not a matter that should be avoided. I mean, something is seriously wrong with our people when we find ourselves racing home to watch reruns of the BET Awards, or we find ourselves more concerned about what party is popping off on this weekend, opposed to what's really going on with our people. This is a serious epidemic, and it's a clear indication that we've yet to get it together as a people. I myself, being born into slavery, along with the rest of you, would like very much to experience freedom on this earth before I evolve into a higher state of existence. Yet, I do need the help of seeing minds that'll make the transition a bit simpler. You know, I cry out often for unification, the redemption of mankind, the entire human race, for it's very necessary in this time. Now, let's speak about racism a little bit. And as we begin to speak in terms of racism, the whole concept of racism is nothing more than an illusion. It's a learned mannerism. It was shrewdly designed as another way to keep one distracted from reality, which thus, in turn, keeps one subdued or just keep them from the realization of their true self. Many of us who claim to be conscious have still yet to realize how to attain the freedom that we seek. Instead, we further enslave ourselves by committing injustice against those who are still asleep. Or we pick and choose when we want to play along with society at the cost of another's life. I mean, we definitely need to start breaking away from these conditionings by coming into the realization that we are indeed sovereign leaders. Now, this leads me to speak on another topic, and that's the so-called Holy Bible. This book plays a great role in our conditionings. This is a book of subjective information which has been used and is continued to be used in this day to further enforce the conditionings of slavery, even by our own people. Because of its many translations by unknown scribes, the adding and omitting of information, at this point, the book that was upheld as one that is holy, we come to find out is not so holy after all. Originally, this book was intended to testify about black history, yet it's become so twisted and misconstrued that one can barely tell who the book is about. All we know is about Israelites. But who were the Israelites? That's another topic. I'll go into that on a later discussion. People have yet to really realize that it's been translated in such a way to accommodate the identity of the scribes. Much has been taken out of the book that references to the physical identity of the original people. I mean, you may find one or two scriptures that identify the people as of color, but that's about it. And these verses, I personally believe, were overlooked, and that's how they ended up, and that's how they remained as part of the scrolls. Some say if one lacks understanding, then of course this is the reason why it becomes so difficult to relate to the book. I say, for something that's supposed to be so holy, it should leave no room for misunderstandings. If indeed it is the word of God, as it states, then that means that it's also perfect. There should be no room for contradictions in a book that is supposed to be holy and perfect. Bottom line. So, in essence, if you find yourself filling in the gaps where there should not be any, remember, perfection is without gaps. Not to say that the whole book is entirely useless, for there is much information that can be retained. However, if one does not know how to fish, one would definitely be stepping on dangerous grounds when he decides to take this whole book as one that's literal. Bottom line, we can't pick and choose what we want to believe. What we should do is we should choose according to verifiable proof. For instance, if we go to the book of Revelations and we look at chapter 13, verse 17, and I quote, "And that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name." This is a very controversial verse. It's widely known, very popular. What we want to know right now is that, how does this apply today? And if you've been paying attention to what's going on, you'll very well be able to see how this verse is a prophecy that is actually being fulfilled in this very day. Many of our people have been concerned with this so-called microchipping thing that's supposed to be implanted either underneath our skin, on the back of our hands, or somewhere on our foreheads. This is the one thing that's supposed to allow us the freedom to buy, to sell, and to travel. Whether or not it's true, I'm not sure. For some reason, I find it hard to believe. It really doesn't sit well with my conscience, because I know a lot of people are not going to go along with this. So what's going to happen with the people who do not go along with it? I mean, this is a pure indication that something is not right. Okay? And this society has always done things that are unnoticeable in order to control the masses. Why would they turn around and do something then that is so noticeable that will bring about questions? So that's something to meditate on. I really think it's a distraction, which has really kept us from realizing another unknown fact when it comes to these conditionings. Something that's not so obvious, and that's the birth certificate, and a whole lot of other agreements that allow us to live within society. When birth certificates were issued to us at birth, we had already unknowingly partaken of the mark of the beast. Upon birth and the signing of this birth certificate, we became commerce. We were no longer cute little boy babies or cute little girl babies. We became objects of society. We became commodities. Our birth certificates, along with the various other contracts we've signed, have very well contributed to our enslavement. All the things that we've grown to love and feel that we need are all simple illusions to keep us trapped within the confinements of deception. And this is what I mean when I say I was born into slavery along with the rest of my brothers and sisters. It's It's a different kind of slavery, though. As I stated, it's one that is unnoticeable because it's affecting the mind. This type of slavery can be very much compared to a very slow death. Our minds are being completely poisoned, and it started from birth. It's been reinforced by our parents and their parents and so on, unknowingly. And if we don't want to continue to pass it along to our children and the generations behind them, then it's time that we put an end to it right now. You see, this is what happens when we tend to pay attention to things external of our being opposed to our true self. The possibility of salvation becomes completely overlooked, and we start to look outside of ourselves for a salvation, for something that's affecting us within. This is the reason why we're still back and forth with crime and injustice, sin, wrongdoing. We can't get it right because we're looking outside of something that's within us. There is no man that's going to be flying on no clouds that's going to save us from ourselves. We can only do that. And the sad part about it is that many of us think that we can run. We can just pick up and run to another country. There's nowhere to run. The only place that you can run is within yourself. You can run to Israel all day long. You can run to Japan all day long. Guess what? Your conditionings will follow you no matter where you go. Those shackles on your ankles, chains around your wrists and on your neck, they follow you no matter where you go. You are going to have to pull that key out your pocket and unlock those chains yourself. Now, if you think about it, in order to travel, you need a passport. This is a contract with your government. It's a tracking device. In order to drive, you need a driver's license and a car. These are 2 more contracts. You want a house? Good. This is another contract. Bank accounts, loans, jobs, income taxes, public assistance, all of these are binding agreements. These are the very things that keep us enslaved to this society. So, with everything that's been said so far, by now it should be pretty obvious what's needed in order to become free from this world, free from the mental conditionings. We must start rejecting everything that they offer us. We must begin to rebuild from the ground upward. Our own communities, our own businesses, employments, education systems, everything that they use to manipulate us in this time, we need to reject and reestablish. And we got to do it for our own well-being, the well-being of the generations that follow. We have to start doing it. We have to start trusting. We have to start knowing. Well, I just wanted to come and put this message out. It was very important to me. It was within my heart, and I needed to share it in love, of course, in my art. This basically concludes the video. I hope I left many of you with something to think about, and maybe someday soon we can all sync our meditations and come up with a plan that will allow us to move forward in our continued struggle for equal rights and justice. I do have a couple of plans in store. And for those who are serious and are very interested, you can always get in touch with me. My email is iyatasofpeace@yahoo.com. I'll be happy to connect you with the right people who can basically help us get started on moving forward. I'll leave you with this. Know thyself, and the keys to deliverance will prevail. Peace and love. Makara.